Well, let's hear from an American, a North American.
Kind of based off of what Bruno just said, I think that one of the largest problems with Americans is the fact that we cannot be reflexive, that instead of pointing the fingers at ourselves, we try and point them at other countries, and it's easiest for us. I mean, we've seen it in like numerous other, just besides war, like with Americans being overweight, we always try and blame it on something, or, you know, we try and get like the quick fix with everything. And kind of like how Bruno said, with having another country come in and tell us what to do, and that Americans aren't satisfied with our government, I don't think it's more so that Americans aren't satisfied with our government as much as Americans just choose to be ignorant to the fact of what our government is doing. So then that's like their way of pointing their fingers. Like, they don't want to say it's their fault for electing government officials that didn't think thoroughly about what they were doing at 9/11. It was more so, okay, now we can point the blame at our government. For like example, in like Saudi, it's, I mean, years and years of religious and, you know, government and everything, and there's way more to it than just looking at, oh, well, these people are terrorists. I mean, there's a small group of people in, you know, the other countries that are terrorists, and as well as there's a small group of people in the United States that's like totally against Obama. And, you know, it's kind of hard to, I guess, what it all boils down to is like stereotyping. And we can't feel comfortable with ourselves, so we have to stereotype others. And then it's just like this whole rationalization of, well, this is the group of people, and this is what we need to, you know, who we need to attack, even though it isn't that group of people.
Yeah. Yeah, and we've been looking at the role that mythology plays in the construction of a cultural worldview. I'm sorry, Budor, you had something.
Yeah, I'd like to add something also. I think with the global order, I think the states, they just used to be the most powerful country in the world, and maybe they do like policing the world, I don't know, but I think it's the main reason why people, or maybe many people, hate or maybe don't like the United States. And it's a complicated thing, and it's hard for me to explain how people sometimes feel about the United States, just the Guantanamo thing, and just seeing them, how they treat other people just because they have the power and they have the money.
2 weeks ago in Brazil, in the Rio de Janeiro city, will be the next 2016 Olympic Games. The drug sellers, they destroy one helicopter, the helicopter of the cops, and I think they have rocket launcher there. I think this is something worse than happens in other countries. Like, I would be glad, like, if the United States go there and try to solve that, because I think this kind of stuff is really worse. Why any other country or the United Nations doesn't do something about that?
Okay, so sure, yes, go ahead.
I don't agree with that, because we have our problems, but it's our problems, it's our business. I don't think that other country has the right to go there if we didn't ask them to go. So, and I think that sometimes it happens. So that's my opinion about it.
Yes, go ahead.
But there are some countries that cannot handle their own problem and they need extra help. And some country like United States that has power and practical enforce to do something for that, need to do help for them. But the helping should be helping itself, not manipulating or changing or overwhelming the other country. It should be just help itself.
In other words, not to use their problem as an excuse to tell them how to live.
Yeah, they are abusing their power and making good excuse and making methodology into their action, and they are making themselves as a hero. So helping other country would be really nice, but abusing their power should be avoided. So being a real police is good, but it should not be dictator or manipulator.
Right. So, and that's one reason that we've focused on mythologies this semester is because sometimes those myths get twisted, and in the name of helping, we're actually imposing our worldview. Is that what you're saying? Yes.
Kind of going off of what all you guys just said, I think it's kind of hard sometimes when you are in power for any country to not abuse the power. What I'm saying is I don't agree with how America does abuse its power and how they do try and force their ways on other people, but I think it's often hard to distinguish, well, this is what we're doing to help, and then this is what we're doing, you know, like our ways, by us going into Iraq and saying, yes, we want to make this a democracy. That's our view of helping, but that might not be another country's view of helping. That might be them seeing us as abusing power. So it's a different, I guess, different perspective and world out, like our worldview, because we look at it as helping, but others might. And so it's hard to distinguish between those two things, and it's hard to say that the United States isn't helping or it is helping, I guess.
Yes, and we've talked about worldview and the role that reflexivity plays, and we've also talked about that Obama sort of represents a different approach and than the previous administration toward the use of power. How do you think how does he differ? Because we talked last roundtable discussion about how Obama has raised the opinion of the United States in several foreign countries. So how does Obama handle power, and how does that work?
I can understand the shock Americans got when the 9/11 happened, and I think invading Iraq was one of the things that Bush tried to make up for how the Americans were feeling. Maybe he tried to make them, or maybe he just wanted to show them how much of a good president he was, or something. And many people know that the step he did by invading Iraq and going into that mess was a really bad thing. And by Obama coming now, when he came and he was elected, he was talking about his pulling out the troops from Iraq and bring him back from there. And I think the way Obama is thinking, or maybe showing the world that he's different than Bush, and he's taken another strategy than him, and it's a good thing. We still don't see the results of what he promised, and we're still waiting for that.
And yes, did you want to add some more?
Do you think that by Obama taking the troops out of, what's your opinion on that? Because right now there's such chaos among the different groups of people in Iraq and Iran and Saudi Arabia and the Middle East, that there's such a conflict. Do you think that the people will be able to resolve that conflict without the forces of the United States? Or do you think that we should slowly pull out? Or do you think that we should, what do you think, in your eyes, what would be the best answer to what Obama should do?
Good question.
Well, I think in the first place, Americans invaded